Hi, everybody. Hi, it's Dr. Holly MacKenna from Dara Wellness here for the Big Easiest Ways to Wellness. And this week I have an amazing woman who I find super inspiring. We know each other through the Studio School of Dance. She has had a really interesting journey in following her passion and using it to teach her kids, teach other people's kids, teach the world about being outside and enjoying the outside. And I love that you're outside for this. So welcome, architect, or not interior designer, sorry, making you an architect, Megan Mattei. Thank you for coming and joining me today. So Megan, you have, as long as I've known you, been very interested in gardening. And we talked a little bit before we started the live that this has really been something that's been a part of your life. It sounds like since the womb from what you're talking about.
Pretty much, yeah. Both my parents were big into gardening. My mom, orchids and tropical plants and staghorns, and my dad was kind of a do-it-himself, could do anything, built a greenhouse for her to house all these plants. And we had, a pond in the backyard, a rose garden in the front. And I was always outside as a kid, and those are really some of my fondest memories is making mud pies and catching water bugs and going to the nature center down the street and finding, turtles and bringing them back and getting dirty and those type of things. So, yeah, that just kind of kept it in the back of my mind. And as I went through life, got my interior design schooling and came here to New Orleans to work at Tulane in the Office of University Architect's office, I was put, of course, as an interior designer on landscape projects.
Of course. That's how the universe works.
Like, that's crazy, but it kind of makes sense, right? I have this design schooling, and if you think of outdoor spaces as rooms, it kind of makes sense. And in a university setting too,
Oh yeah.
Working on some pretty cool projects like Newcomb Pottery Garden, which is all of the plants from Newcomb Pottery
Nice.
in a collection. It was great. And making the McAllister place a walkway, a pedestrian way, which was really awesome. So it kind of made sense, and it kind of led me to want to learn more, and educate myself about these things. I met Tammany Baumgarten through that, who owns Baumgarten Landscape and Design, and she is a master gardener. And I thought, both my parents went through master gardeners. LSU Ag Center has this program, Louisiana Master Gardeners, where you go and you learn so much from basic botany to entomology to, pests and pesticides, just a great education. And then you go into the world to be a volunteer. And it's a really great program. I know people are like a little bit intimidated by it. Surprisingly, when I talk to people, they're like, I've always wanted to do that. Like, how did you do that? Like, it's not hard. Anybody
really? Like, you don't have to have a certain degree or like have a certain background?
No, it's for everybody.
I love that.
And what's great about it now is they're adapting the program. For example, my class was the first where we did our labs online. So you get to pick morning or evening classes, and then you do a lot of online stuff. And I think, so my class had like 60 something people, which was big. Now it's like, we're in like an explosion for gardening right now. And it's
sincerely
about this, and the weather is actually getting nice, fall. But they had, they had 35,000 people register for their certified gardening course over the summer because they weren't able to do the Master Gardener program because of COVID. But like, it's crazy how much people are interested. I mean, it's great because
it's
people
amazing
getting outside, and they're like, Oh yeah, my garden. There's something called plant blindness, where you can pass the same plant over and over and over again, and you never even notice it. You don't notice the attributes. You could walk to work the same way every day, and you pass a rose bush, and you don't. I'm sorry. Can you hear my chickens?
I love that I can hear your chickens. Loud. This must be how people are having their outside time during lunch. So I'm sure they're loving your chickens too. That's great.
But yeah, so it's a great time to be learning about gardening, and I think there's a hunger for it. People realize, gosh, being stuck in these four walls all day is not really doing it for me, and I need to get outside. And there's it's kind of like an awakening. I feel like people are realizing the importance and the need for it,
So much. And I'm an integrative psychiatrist, so when I hear folks telling me how, oh, I started gardening, or I realize my garden needs some work, it's so good for you. Like being outside, like you said, that vitamin D is going to help your immunity. And, folks are worried about that right now.
Yeah.
Being outside in the morning, that circadian light actually helps lower stress hormones. And then when I was looking at this, because I knew we were going to be talking, there's actually a lot of studies that have been done on using gardening for things like post-operative care. Like if people go outside and work on their garden or spend time in their garden after having surgery, they tend to use less pain medication and be like bedridden for lesser periods of time, because they're getting more active, they're starting to use their bodies. These are all things that doctors tell people to do, but usually it's boring in those hospital walls and not outside where we're meant to be as humans.
Yeah.
And actually also for dementia, for older folks, it really helps with irritability and helps with behaviors. And then I think you've seen yourself personally how much it can help with kids. Aren't you doing some work with your children's school, which is amazing?
Yeah. So getting kind of circling back to the Master Gardener program, and not to get too personal, but so both my parents were Master Gardeners. They passed. Mm-hmm. And when they passed, I thought it like a natural transition to do, I'd always wanted to do this. This is the time to do it. Mm-hmm. It helped me with the grieving process as a connection to them. And also I had this goal of, I had these parents that taught me about gardening, but there's a lot of kids, either they don't have a garden, their parents don't know anything about gardening, it just seems beyond reach. And I'm like, every kid should get this opportunity. It's kind of just, it's a natural thing. So I did the program with that in mind, and first of all, I've got a great school, Metteri Academy, my son's school, Lisa Babin, our principal, Todd Ray, who's a first grade teacher there. There's a team there, and I feel like if you're going to do this, you need the team. They really helped, and we just saw it through. And then, so I worked with other Master Gardeners, with Longview, where I volunteered, with the New Orleans Botanical Gardens, with Mary Biondo over there at the Butterfly Garden, and Tammany, and like all of these connections I made through Master Gardeners that helped me see this to fruition. And if you think like, that's too expensive, it's too big of a project, like there's so many grants out there, like there's so many people willing to help, you just have to ask. So I mean,
right,
our parents helped chip in. We got donations for soil, for plants. I mean, we would go to Jefferson Feed and Seed, we'd go to Perino's, and you just tell them what you're doing, and people are willing to help when they hear it's for kids, and the most exciting thing is to see the kids in the garden. And, they helped create it. They were there building the boxes, putting the plants in. And one of the challenges I had to figure out was how to get the kids in the garden, because they're in school all day, to the minute. They've got to go over their math, their science, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How to get them to where they can appreciate this and really get to use it. It's their garden. What's the point of building it? So we created a garden club, which was surprisingly wildly successful. The first year
I love that.
Kids. The next year we had like 66 kids sign up, and we had to turn people away because it was just like,
wow.
Gosh, how are we gonna deal with all these kids? But it was great because from the first year they just loved it so much that they wanted to come back, and we'd go. So I built a whole program based on master gardeners, and I gave them a little, like a little nature journal.
Oh, I love that.
They have little topics. I mean, we make it educational as well as fun. So part of the time we're inside and we're watching a fun video. There's a great PBS program. If you haven't seen it, it's called It's Okay to Be Smart. And the kids just, gravitate towards knowing all these fun, off the wall facts about things. Show a kid the life cycle of a butterfly, and it's like it's like mic drop. You're done. That's all you have to do.
I love it.
There's so much soil science. We made little wormeries. I had them pick out their worm and put it in their little peanut butter jars, and they were just like, that is the biggest gift to myself, is to see these kids get engaged, and get interested and start asking questions, because that's the ultimate goal, is trying to instill something in the next generation that makes them question what's going on. And hey, what, in my backyard, and especially here in New Orleans, our soil structure, runoff, talking about soil erosion and why we need trees and why we need to capture rain in rain barrels to help keep our city intact. It's just opened so many doors. I don't know how many hours you have to talk about this.
No, I love it. I'm just envisioning, as you're talking about this, for parents who maybe are doing remote learning, like the idea of, for your gym time or whatever time you want to make it in your day, your science time, to go outside and spend time in your yard and maybe make a garden with your kids. Just the things you're mentioning, really getting a jar and getting a worm, it doesn't sound that hard. This sounds like something I could do.
Yeah, you don't need a yard. You can have a pot with one plant in it. Plant some milkweed, something simple, parsley. And going the butterfly thing, that's something that has so many learning. You can see life cycle. You get to talk about host plant, get food. That's a huge thing. We did experiments where, seeing how the water moves up the celery with the colored, all these things that seem so simple, but if you're a kid, you've never seen this, it's like mind blowing, and so, yeah, it could be super simple. You don't have to make it hard, and we have parents that they live in apartments, they don't have space, but we made pots out of toilet paper rolls, and the kids did it, and they put the little soil in there, and they bring their bean plant home, or soak a seed, put it in a plastic baggie, and watch the roots and the stem grow. All these things. There's so many activities, and entomology, getting to talk about bugs. It's so fun. And, I think gardening is one of those things. It's an art and it's a science. So it appeals to everybody. I think it appeals to both sides of your brain. I don't know one person who couldn't benefit from gardening. Maybe I'm biased, but it's it's like my timeout space. If things are going crazy inside, as they are, we're doing virtual learning. My husband's working at home, all
Yeah, it's a lot in one space, right? Yeah.
You need an escape. So just getting out, feeling nature. You said it, like the senses, smelling the, not to be cheesy, but stopping to smell the roses. I mean, you could have a whole garden just based on scent. And in our learning garden, we actually have 3 raised beds, and we theme them. We have a sensory bed, so touch, sight, smell, and the kids love to feel things. They love to get.
Wow. And then, that could be great for, kids with different needs too, or, whose brains work a little differently, having a touch garden. I didn't even think of that as a possibility. That's amazing.
Yeah, they love, and we had lamb's ear, so soft. We planted this grass called bunny tail grass, and it's got these, tiny little fluff ball. They love it, and then in our second bed, we had salad garden. We have it, so it's just leafy greens, and then we'll have a pizza garden,
Oh, stuff for pizza?
Yes.
Is pizza growing plants?
I don't know, but, and try and get the kids involved in what they want to grow. So, give the kids a space, like they can take ownership over, and that's so important because these kids need outlets that are not just, digital and all that thing. So it's just been a lot of fun. We even had, you can loop history into it. We had a 3 sisters garden, which is based on the 3 sisters are the beans that add nutrients into the soil, nitrogen. You have the corn. I think she's the oldest sister. I might get this wrong. And then you have I think it's the gourds. I'm going to get this right. But that's a Native American tradition. So, and here in Louisiana, we grow all sorts of crops. And it's just endless, the things you can do. And I would say just starting small is the key. When I started the learning garden, I wanted to do everything with everybody.
Right.
And I just learned quickly, like I've got, with 66 kids from pre-K to 5th grade, you got to kind of get a little more practical and meet them on their level, right? And sometimes I thought, this is actual chaos. Like there's running around. I'm just trying to keep them alive, They learn. You don't think kids are listening, but they're listening all the time. And they would come back to me with these facts, or like, what about this? Is this the stem or is this the root? Like, what part of the plant am I eating? And it's great. And another thing about Master Gardeners, one more thing is we gained access to all of these speakers who could come.
Oh, nice.
And these are Master Garden, it became a Master Gardener project, but we had people come and talk about birds, planting for birds, wildlife, native gardens, native planting, and that's a new big thing I'm into now. The Native Plant Institute of Greater New Orleans, they informed us about a grant, and we were able to create a whole natives only bed, which then we had certification for. And certification is another thing. If you have a kid who's goal oriented, say, okay, we're gonna our goal is to make a pollinator bed, and we're gonna make it a monarch way station. And you get the you get the plaque, you put it up. It's a great goal. You can make certified wildlife habitat through the National Wildlife Federation, and you can do like we did the Louisiana certified native plant habitat through NPI, and their website is npi-gno.org. But there's just endless possibilities. and I credit all the people that I've met through the years, through volunteering, and the partnerships built through Master Gardeners that really brought this to fruition.
I love this. There's so many comments. Let me show this because I think this is one of your friends about your mom, which I love this. I just love that. Mom shout out. Yeah.
That's my sister.
That's listen to your mother right there. Like that's as an Irish mother, I gotta say, see, listen to your mom. I'm saying it with like a random accent, but yes.
That's funny.
I love that. Yeah. And then my friend Victor, who I can picture you in your garden, Victor.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. And of course, I have to give a shout out to my husband who's in love with your chickens. I hope that doesn't mean a bunch of chickens in my yard, but although I think my kids would love that.
Here they come.
Are they coming?
Yeah. Maybe I can angle it down.
What? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Chickens! I love it.
That was another thing I wanted to do. And I mean, chickens and gardening kind of go hand in hand.
Right?
Because believe it or not, chicken manure is fertilizer. But they're so great. They're fun and the kids love them,
Oh my gosh, it's so great.
This is Baby. And I don't know if you can see Disco and Buffy.
Oh, nice.
Up and Rocksteady back there, but
I love it.
Fun.
That's amazing. So the chickens, like, are they a lot of work?
No, not really. No, so I built a coop and a run for them in the back, and they'll let them out during the day, and they put themselves back up at night. I just have to make sure that
independent chickens. I love it.
They don't get intruders because we do have some hawks and things like that around, so you have to watch out for that.
We live on a swamp, yeah.
Yeah. We do have predators in our but no, they're fun and the kids love them, and that's another way. My daughter comes out and feeds the chickens, and then we get to just do a walk. At the end of every day, we take a walk in the garden, and my husband and I call it walking the grounds.
Nice.
Pretend like we're highfalutin, but you get to look at all, seeing your flowers come out, and just I put in a button bush this past year, which is a native plant, and I'm excited to see the flowers come out. They look like little space balls. Somebody said,
"Oh, nice."
It's just fun. Gardening is fun because it always gives you something to look forward to. It's a discipline too. You have to. Nature will not wait. Your weeds are not going to wait for you to go and pick them.
That's true.
But it gives purpose, right? I mean,
I love it. It does. It gives purpose. I'm picturing my friend Victor out doing his garden. I think that reminds me, it does give purpose, especially in a time like now where, folks are physically distancing. I know there's a lot of folks who maybe live alone and so might feel a sense of loneliness, but if you have that garden depending on you, that's a living thing that you're helping to grow and seeing change. Like, how amazing is that? And same for the kids. Like, maybe if they're not able to play with their friends face to face, they still have this thing that they can look forward to every day and counts on them. Like you said, I love that.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Exploring and finding, really, it's about discovery and magic. I mean, when I think about garden and really through the eyes of a child, it's discovering magic. It's like there's so few surprises in life, and as you get older, you kind of turn a blind eye to everything that's a miracle, and nature is the biggest miracle. I mean, this is who we are, and when you tap into that, it creates a sense of calm. it's a moving meditation to me, really, to sit down and weed, and some people might think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? But
no, it's true though. You're 100% on point. Absolutely. And I bet you if we put a bunch of probes on your head, your brain waves are going to be doing similar things to what we would see in meditation, or it's what we call like a flow state.
Flow state.
It's where you have enough challenge to kind of keep you interested, but not so challenging that you get stressed out, or not so little challenging that you get bored. Same thing that happens with our kids' brains when they're dancing. You enter that state, you lose sense of time, you're hyper focused on what you're doing, and you feel joy. And I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, that's amazing. I hope that folks watching will just see the joy and see the beauty behind you and the chickens, and will really consider doing this for themselves. And like you said, it doesn't have to be this huge grounds like you and Eric are walking every day. It can be just a little plant in the corner that you're loving and keeping alive.
Yeah. And, if you think about it's mind, body, senses, all these things we're talking about with our mind, but body too, physical, getting out there. If you have a job where you're sitting at a desk all day, and then you get to go outside and get some.
Oh my gosh.
And also just food, growing your own food in your backyard.
Oh, so powerful.
The best thing you can do, because once you cut that veggie off of that, you cut that bell pepper off of that plant, it starts the natural process of deterioration. The fresher you can get it, the more nutrients are in that food. And then you start thinking about, where does my food come from? When we saw it during the pandemic, all these food shortages, and it
right.
Thinking about a lot goes into making our food, and you get to control what goes on your food, pesticides, herbicides, all these things. And it's really the best thing you can do for yourself. It just, and like you said, the flow state, I feel too, just being out in nature. And I know in the middle of August in New Orleans, the last thing we want to do is go outside and sweat, full body sweat. But there's something to feeling the air on your skin and all of the seasons, getting into the rhythm of nature, like you said, sunrise, sunset, 4 seasons, just feeling those things, I feel helps our body in an intrinsic, ways we just don't know. We don't.
Right. Yeah, just the energy of the earth itself. Absolutely. I love that.
And there's soil science about, my sister had talked about playing in the dirt. There's studies about digging in soil. There's microbes in the soil, and if you inhale them, they create serotonin, and they actually make you happier. And so, there's just, it's like the last frontier, I feel underneath our feet, because we just don't know so much about soil and its effects. And I mean, there's something called the connections between tree roots and how trees talk to each other and other plants.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. There's just so much we just don't know. And that's what's interesting to me. I mean, I've only broken the surface of what gardening is, and there's something for everybody. So
absolutely. So Megan, we're just getting to the half hour, and I like to try to be respectful of people's lunch times, even though we have a really engaged group, which I love. How can folks get in touch with you if they just want to find out more about what we've been talking about, or they want to see how you make beauty on the inside as well as an interior designer? What's the best way for folks to reach out?
You can just email is the best way. Megan Mattei at gmail.com. Yeah. is the most direct route. And I'm so willing to talk to anybody about gardening. We're trying to bridge the gap between Jefferson and Orleans Parish schools. We have a partnership with Homer Plessy right now.
Nice.
So more school gardens is great. So if you're interested in that, I can point you in some great directions and help you.
Ooh, well, I'm thinking my brain is ticking about that one because I would love to have my kids out in the dirt more, like in a healthy way. Although I think dirt is healthy, like you said. Just what it does for your microbiome alone is good. Dirt is good.
Dirt is good. That's right.
More dirt. Yes. And then we talked about the Master Gardening Program. It's kind of a long address, but we have it here in our comments if folks want to copy and paste that to go to LSU Ag Center's Master Gardening Program, find out more about that, find out the different courses and things like you mentioned that they have outside of just the amazing Master Gardener Program. I love that. And I love that it's opened so many doors for you. And I feel like the universe really had a place in having you doing the outside when you were working with Tulane and making the beauty outside because, you know, as you said, that's something that's been in your blood since you were a little one. And so sometimes the universe just opens doors in a way that leads us on our path. And I love the path you're on. It's great. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for sharing the chickens.
Oh, thank you, Holly. Thank you for having me on. This has been great. It's a great opportunity. And I love what you're doing for our city and for all those watching, supplying ideas for mindfulness and wellness. It's great.
Thank you. Folks can check out other episodes on my website, or if you want to find out more about what integrative psychiatry is. And thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Thursday. Go outside, play in the dirt, take off your shoes, go walk in the grass, start your journey towards gardening and spending time outdoors. I love everybody, and thanks for joining us.
Bye.